This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet in the here and the there, offering rememberings in times of chaos and bullshit. I want to talk about a free tool that I've been using daily in my life, in my process of healing from trauma, from childhood trauma, from intergenerational trauma, racial trauma, gender trauma, sexuality trauma, trauma of living in Western society and not really knowing how to be what is being demanded, like attempting and failing miserably, and then being punished for that supposed failure. One could see it as I was getting an A in the fact that I was failing. I was getting an A and being authentically me, but it's neither here nor there at the moment. Back to the tool that has helped me, that I think has been incredibly helpful in the last month in particular. Well, few months in particular, maybe a year, couple years, as we have transitioned into this world of the striped red, white, and blue Iron Curtain. And so for those of us who are living behind that striped red, white, and blue Iron Curtain, there's a tool that I use called Breathe, Slow Down, Be Curious. Tool, concept, idea, call it what you want. And it's not the end all be all, right? So if you're in your mind, you're like, that's not going to help me from death. Well, no, it might, it might not. I don't know. But, it's not the end all be all too. There's going to be multiple ideas, concepts, and tools that we, as a collective people in this time, will activate, will engage. And some of them will cost money, therapy, a gym membership, I don't know. And, firearm training, I don't know. Then there's things that we can do. There's ideas, concepts, and tools that have been purposefully hidden from us, buried in our memory, of ways in which we can facilitate our own process of awakening, of healing, of figuring out what the fuck, and not in a way that does harm to the self or to others. Like if your choice is to do harm to self and to others, I'm not here to judge any of that, but that's not where I'm at. Where I'm at is, how do I live in these chaotic bullshit times and do less harm to myself and to others? And one of those ways is to remember to breathe, to remember to slow down, and to remember to be curious. And they kind of lead into each other. The remembering to breathe, it is going to come with understanding the process of learning how to notice oneself, right? To be an observer without detaching in this society is really difficult, but it is a practice that can be cultivated. And so in that, I've learned to notice, not all the time, right? Sometimes I don't, but when I do, when I'm holding my breath, or when I'm getting agitated, when I'm about to react versus respond to something around me, to people, place, planet, when I'm about to default to a behavior that is going to cause either myself or others or planet harm. Learning to take that breath to just slow everything down. So it can slow everything down so that I can respond versus react. It can also slow everything down to help if I've been triggered or poked or I'm feeling prickly. That breath can kind of help regulate that, like help me come back to the moment and what do I actually want to do in this moment, right? So that's the slowdown. It leads to this, I'm more likely to respond versus react because I've had this breath, multiple breaths usually, right? Where I'm slowing down. And so my nervous system is getting a little bit of a break. I'm observing what's happening with my thoughts. I'm observing what's happening in my body. If I can really pay attention to what's happening in my body, it means I have to slow down. Because for me, I check where within my energy centers I'm having a feeling in that slow down, because that's going to help me know what's getting poked, like what wound is being activated or poked that caused me to even notice that I'm not breathing or that I need to breathe differently or in a different way, right? And so, and then that right there is what the curious is. When I breathe, slow down, and now I'm just being curious of like, what is happening for me? I think we're in a time where the power that wants to be is in the shock and awe phase, right? They're really trying to overload us, and they're doing a great job. If you're, particularly if you're spending a lot of time on social media, if you're spending a lot of time watching the news, listening to the mainstream, it's all about dysregulating our nervous systems. It's all about taking us outside of ourselves, so that connection can't be made. I can't connect. If I'm in survivor mode, if I'm in fear mode, if I'm in isolation fear mode, I can't connect with myself. I can't connect with my ancestors. I can't connect with Earth. Like there, and that isolation is what is wanted. And so this idea of like the breathe, slow down, seek, be curious can be really helpful to combat that energy that they're throwing at us. And again, I know that some of what's coming has already come, is violent, is painful, is death. And so a breathe, slow down, be curious is not necessarily going to be the tool to combat that. That being said, in this moment, at least for me, and if there's anyone else out there in the ethers listening, where you know that like right now at this moment, it is about me creating protections and boundaries on my energy, my energetic body, my energetic self, so that I can function enough to figure out what the fuck to do next, right? What the fuck to do next. And that is really what they don't want. They don't want you to think strategically. They don't want you to be thinking about how do I connect with someone? How do I support myself or support another person through this time? So they just want us running around with really no direction and pointing the finger at each other and yelling at each other and harming each other and harming ourselves. So breathe, slow down, be curious. The be curious part is also going to help with judgment. It helps me with judgment. That when I'm falling into judgment, I can be curious to kind of see, well, what exactly is happening here? Why is this person, because I'm only dealing with people in my circle that I have invited in and am close to, and that still doesn't mean we agree on everything. There's going to be moments where there's disagreements on what to do next or how to move, or sometimes we're going to react to each other, right? So that be curious helps me be less harmful to the people I love, to the people around me, so that if my nervous system is dysregulated, I'm not necessarily taking it out on them, but I can breathe, slow down enough to be curious. And even for me right now, is like to be vulnerable and say like, okay, you saying that elicited this for me. This was my experience of that. Can you say more? Can you explain to me what that's about? To be curious, like what's going on for that person in this situation. So breathe, slow down, be curious. That's my offering. This is Rooted Cosmic Soul, sacrificing the patriarchy from a broom closet. The energy here stays here. The energy there stays there. Sense you later. Return when moved to do so. Same Bruja time. Same Bruja channel.